So as we begin to enter into the territory and the terrain, the landscapes of this course, we're first going to come to this amazing theme of what is shamanism and what is the way of the shaman. So when the Europeans, the Westerners, were studying indigenous cultures a couple of hundred years ago, when they came across these indigenous cultures in South America or North America or Siberia and began to study them as anthropologists, the word that they came up with for the priests and the priestesses who were the guardians of knowledge within the communities was the shaman. So this word shaman comes from these old kind of Siberian or Russian words for the shaman, for the priestess, or the priest within the community. So it literally means something like the one who knows. Another wonderful translation or meaning for what a shaman really is comes from a contemporary teacher who said that a shaman is one who is a healer of relationships. A healer of relationships, a healer of relationships of the body and the mind, or the body and the spirit, or between the non-physical worlds and the physical worlds. That's the role of the shaman. So all communities, all cultures have had shamans, have had people who are the guardians of knowledge, who help to heal the relationships and keep the sense of the balance within human life. This is one of the really good ways of seeing what a shaman does. Someone who brings balance, someone brings harmony and peace and wisdom into the community. And the shaman was often, or is often, the intermediary point between the physical realm and the non-physical realm. So often the communities would go, or do go, to the shaman for guidance on the direction of the community. You know, and the shaman, either through divination, so either tracking, divination is a way to kind of tap into this universal bank of knowledge. So whether or not it was or is kind of charting the flight of birds, or watching the ripples coming from the water element, all of these forms of divination are ways of tapping into what the universe is trying to speak to the community, what Mother Nature is trying to speak to the community. So this is what the shaman does, and there are universal themes for the shaman as well. Universal themes across the world's traditions. There were certain currents, and I've tried as much as I can to bring these themes into the course. So there are specific videos in this course about connecting earth and sky, or animism, or working with places of power, all of these things that seem to be kind of universal themes across the landscape of shamanic traditions. So one of those themes is just this wonderful thing, and it's, I think, one of the reasons that so many people today are becoming interested in the way of the shaman or shamanism is because the shamans never forgot that it was possible to do something. And do you know what they didn't forget? They didn't forget that, or they didn't lose the knowledge that it's possible both to have a deep connection to nature, to feel that sense of oneness with nature, that care for nature and the natural world, but also to have the sense of the transcendence, have a sense of going beyond, have a sense of connecting to the spiritual dimensions and bringing back knowledge from the spiritual dimensions back into the waking reality. One of the criticisms, you could say, of the world's religions or spiritual traditions over the last couple of thousand years is they weren't that good about, in terms of encouraging people to care for nature. Yes, but, the historical Buddha may have said, plant some trees, or there are, different sort of flavors within it, but they weren't so good either within all of the main world's religions in terms of really cultivating this care for nature. But the shamans in the indigenous communities tended not to forget about that. They saw the oneness of the physical reality and the non-physical reality, the oneness of all of life, and the importance for having a deep sense of care for the natural world. So it's hard to talk in generalities, but they didn't generally just point the finger to the sky as a way of pointing to transcendence, almost away from nature. They had this sense of oneness, And this is one of the main reasons why shamanism is so useful for us in the 21st century. The spiritual path that includes both the earthiness of the ground and the elements of earth, fire, water and air, and the trees and the mountains, and being connected to nature, but at the same time having this wonderful connection to the other world, to the spiritual dimension. So that's one of the really amazing things about the role of the shaman. So some of the other themes, the shaman would often have, the shaman was often the one who had the easiest access to the spiritual dimensions, and this is something that is a current within shamanism, many forms of shamanic practice, this journeying to the spiritual world. The shaman is one either through the drum or through meditation or through trance states or dance, is able to move into these subtle dimensions of existence, the realm of spirit, and bring healing to those dimensions, and then bring healing back to the physical world. So that's something that we're very much going to be exploring within this course as well. Also, one of the wonderful things about the way of the shaman is the sense of spontaneity, of movement. You know, the shaman isn't just like a statue in a sense. The shaman is often one who incorporates dance and movement. That's one of the other reasons why it's so much of a wonderful path for people in our age, because many of us are spending our working days just sitting on computers, but you know, we become physically stagnant in a way. We want to bring a sense of vitality through movement and dance and spontaneous movement, and one of the things that's going to do, other than just revive and awaken the body, is it's also going to help us to get out of the thinking, intellectual, conceptual monkey mind that's rattling around in the brain and causing havoc and causing a lot of suffering for human beings. So there's many things in this course as well about how to move beyond, how to go deeper than just the conceptual thinking surface mind, and go and unlock the deeper energies of the psyche. That's one of the main roles of the shaman as well. So there are many things that we could go into this video here, but that's just a little flavor about what the shaman is, what is shamanism. So as I say, the indigenous cultures, indigenous spiritual cultures of the world, in South America and North America, and also in Australia, and also in Europe as well. And of course they could be very different forms and be doing different things, but there's universal themes and crossovers, and I've tried to bring many of those universal themes into this course so that we can practice fully in our age and grow into beings that can be people that can bring balance back to our community and harmony back to our community, always having the sense of honouring both the mother and the father, honouring both the earth and the sky.